right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. We're going to be going over another retro pay-per-view review. This is going to be Starrcade 1992. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's do this without falling asleep. At least on this one, anyway. We're going to review Starrcade 1992. This is like I think this was the 10th one that they had done because they started in 1983. Eventually, we'll get to the older ones, but right now we wanted to start with this one.
Battlebowl.
Yes, Lethal Lottery 2. Because remember, the year before they did it. It's not a bad concept.
No, the concept is actually good. It's just the execution.
Exactly. I think it was executed wrong. I think they had the wrong roster to go into it. The tag team matches were kind of a joke because half the time they were beating up each other rather than working together to get there. And just like I said, the roster was the biggest part, and we'll get to that. December 28, 1992, in the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. 8,000 roughly on hand for this one. When you could tell, because I think they had to use a crowd machine for this one.
They were in WCW country too.
Yes, Jesse Ventura on commentary along with Jim Ross, which is Ross's one of his final ones before he leaves. Then you got in the back over there, you got Tony Schiavone along with Larry. I used to be halfway decent wrestler, Zbyszko. Yeah, I saw your post, by the way. No, he's not my favorite. And you had Missy Hyatt. So this was, like you said, Battlebowl, Lethal Lottery 2. The tagline for this was the ultimate challenge of skill, luck, and survival. Only one man can survive. God help us all. So it started off. They gave the Battlebowl ring to the previous winner of 1991, which was Sting. And also keep in mind about this pay-per-view why it was lackluster too. Some of these guys were competing 2 or 3 times, which tells me you didn't either have faith in the rest of your roster or you really didn't have a roster at this point, because to compete this many times is uncalled for. So in any event, Bill Watts gives the ring. They had Hank Aaron there, which was good to see. Always good to see Hammer and Hank back then. And Schiavone was in the ring, so he kind of messed it up a little bit. But Sting was not guaranteeing, but he was going for hopefully to win again tonight because he was already in it, And he also had his own match to fight tonight, and he was already picked for the tag team match, so he was hoping that him and his partner would get into the tournament again. So it started off with they picked the names of Heavy Metal Van Hammer and Dangerous Dan Spivey as a tag team against Cactus Jack and Johnny B. Bad. Both teams were disgruntled with each other. Again, this is what takes away from it. Rather than working together, they got their own personal things to it. 6-minute, 51-second match, and Johnny B. Bad cost himself the chance to go into the Battle Bowl when he punched out Cactus Jack, and he gets rolled up for the victory.
Johnny B. Bad, Mankind, and
Mark
the
Merrill.
Wild Man, Mark Merrill.
We're 4 years away from that. The only guy in this match that didn't fight for WWE was Van Hammer. He was never there.
It was weird. They said that he was from New York City, I think.
Yeah, I don't think so. They think everybody's from New York City.
He didn't even look. I mean, I don't know what he was wearing.
He was not from New York. That boy looked like he's from Los Angeles.
I don't know.
San Diego, even San Francisco, but not. No, sorry, we could tell.
Yeah, this was a stinker.
All these qualifying matches really were, except actually no, there was one that was fairly decent. The next one, this next match went 5 seconds longer than the previous match. This was Big Van Vader was teamed with Dustin Rhodes, who already have a feud of their own at this point because it didn't make any sense, versus Kensuke Sasaki and the Barbarian.
Yeah. And
I like that Barbarian had signed with WCW when he left WWE beginning of 1992. Again, we've talked about the roster of WWE depleting. He goes here. They didn't do anything with him. This match wasn't bad. It kind of showed off what Sasaki could do, but unfortunately, they didn't ever do anything with this youngster. Dustin Rhodes and Vader seemed to work together in this match, and when they got the victory, another roll-up, mind you, then Vader clobbers Rhodes. He goes, all right, thanks, you got me here. Yeah. Wham! One of Jesse Ventura's famous wham. I mean, I thought that was funny though. Vader's
no,
like,
it was funny.
He pats him. He goes, "All right, thanks. You
Yeah.
got me here," and clocks him. Like, I don't need you anymore. I'm done. At least Johnny B. Bad could at least did that to Cactus after the fact, trying to get to it. No, he did it before it. So whatever. So now Vader and Rhodes are on to the Battle Bowl later on, along with Van Hammer and Spivey. The next one was 3 seconds longer than the last match. I was noticing a trend here. You had 6:51, 6:56, 6:59. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? It's almost the same every time. And this one was actually, I like this one because it had some significance to a match later on in the night. It was the Great Muta was picked to go with Barry Windham to face Flying Brian Pillman and Too Cold Scorpio. Now, Windham and Pillman later on that night were going for the tag team titles.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to see them have to fight each other here. And during the match, they actually get into a chop fest. And then Wyndham's like, "Whoa, man, whoa, let's calm down. This is not our aggression. This is not us. We got a match later." So they calmed it down a little bit. But this match had some nice aerial stuff from Pillman, from Scorpio,
yeah.
Even Muta. I love watching Great Muta. I mean, again, this is another guy that never wrestled for WWE, unfortunately. I'd have loved to see him there. Lord knows what Vince would have called him. But Great Muta always, to me, was impressive. And Windham and Muta actually get the victory in this and move on to the Battle Bowl. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the last match of the evening, this one went 9 minutes, 8 seconds. So it didn't follow the pattern from the other three. It was Dr. Death, Steve Williams got picked with Sting to face Jushin Thunder Liger and Eric Watts. What? The old man wanted his boy in a pay-per-view? What is this? This is so one-sided. And not to mention, Watts almost screwed up. He screwed up several times in this match. And, I mean, it just, I don't know. What was your input on this match?
I was falling asleep during this match.
This one especially. Liger and Watts did not belong.
Yeah, they had no business going up against those two.
I mean, if you look at they showed the locker rooms. Everybody else in there could have fit this better than this. I just, oh my God. And the match went this was the longest match of the qualifying, which made it even worse. Williams and Sting get the victory. They actually work together considering they're on opposite sides here, heel and babyface. But of course, Sting's got to go into the next.
Oh yeah.
So now you have Sting is going to fight 3 times tonight. And so I'll get into the rest of the minute now. So now we have the Battle Bowl set up. These are all, you have your 8 individuals going in. God help us. The next match was
Stink Bowl.
Oh yeah, this one again. If you're gonna do something like this, which I don't mind the concept of the whole thing. It's pretty cool.
If you had the right,
talent in the Battle Bowl. You don't put Sting versus Liger and Watts, and Watts looked to me he's a bum. I mean, I think the old man just wanted to put his son into this. Bill Watts doing the booking.
I guess.
I don't understand this. The pulling out the names was rigged. Well, I mean, you could tell because when Missy Hyatt pulled one of them, it wasn't even in the bowl. She kind of pulled it off the side and tried to do a card trick with it. I caught that. So it was just bad. Okay, anyway. NWA World Title match was next, which was funny because that's correct me if I'm wrong, the WCW title or the original title. So why are we using that as the NWA title? Yet you have Ron Simmons using something that looked like the WWE Championship, blown up. I just.
Well, at the time, it was that was always the NWA title because remember.
But
the original Big Gold was NWA.
But when Flair left with it, I mean, they still are using it. They have another one. I don't know, man. It seemed a little hanky to me. I haven't used that word in years. Anyway, it was Masahiro Chono defending the title against the Great Muta, who's wrestling for the second time. Now, did you catch that we saw Onita in the highlights? I didn't notice that. When they showed how Chono uses the STF, they were showing some highlights from Japan, and I actually there was a glimpse that I caught Onita in there.
Oh.
This was right around the time Onita was doing the FMW. So when I saw him, I was like, wait a minute, is that Onita? And sure enough, yeah, he was in the hold. This match was actually pretty good. I like this one.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
And I was glad to see. And Jim Ross had said that that he was glad that they were able to get this stateside. And of course, Ventura screws up. He goes, "Oh, we've never seen this match before." And Ross was like, "No, not in this. In the States you haven't." But hello.
I don't know if you noticed, like some of like Ventura was doing like these one-line jokes, and Ross would like ignore him.
Yeah, they didn't work well together.
No, he said something about he said, "Oh, that should be called Hiroshima" or something like that.
Yeah, and Ross gave him nothing.
And then he said something else, and I'm like, do these guys even like each other?
No, it's like they didn't mesh well like Ventura always did with Vince or Monsoon. This little duo, you might as well have just thrown Shivani in there with Ventura like they had in the past. But
what's interesting about the STF? Like that's a move that doesn't get used for like in mainstream for years.
Mm-hmm.
For years.
And it's one of the better submission holds.
But when Cena started doing it, was the STFU, and then when they went PG, they dropped the U, and it was just the STF.
Yeah.
But watching it, I'm like, wow, I wonder why this move wasn't used more often throughout the years. It's a good move.
I always liked when they put it on. I mean, it's up there with the Boston Crab, Sharpshooter.
But it's not as known.
Lacrosse face. No, it's not.
No, it's not as.
I mean,
you would have thought Cena invented it. Like if you hadn't really been watching wrestling, you might have thought. Because it's not something that was really,
It was more like New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't one of Jericho's 1,004 holes anyway. So, or maybe it was. He just never used it. Yeah. So anyway, this was a 12-minute, 49-second match. It was to me, it was pretty damn good watching these two. I would have loved to see them fight more in WCW. Unfortunately, they weren't. They were like hardly there. At least Chono wasn't because he was New Japan. They had the deal working with them. He got the STF. I was about to say STFU, by the way, when we just mentioned that. He got the move on Muda and made him submit. I was kind of pulling for Muda to win this, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Chono keeps the title for the NWA, but it was a pretty good match. The next match on the card was for the WCW Heavyweight Championship. Now, the original match for this was supposed to be Ron Simmons defending the title against Ravishing Rick Rude. It was not title for title, but champion versus champion. And it's funny how they would book that this match was booked 1 month after WWE just did a champion versus champion. Interesting. Wonder what was booked first. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was funny. Unfortunately, Ravishing Rick Rude, and I really think he was suffering at the time. This is where the start of his injuries were coming in. They said he had a herniated disc in his neck. The doctor wouldn't let him compete. So Dr. Death Steve Williams took the match instead. And I mean, I wasn't disappointed with the replacement because they did put on a good match. Although I did want to see Rude fight Simmons.
Rude would have been way better. I did like the promo that he cut when he came out to.
Oh, he was pissed.
Yeah, it looked legit. It looked like legit.
It did. I was just going to say that it did look legit.
Very believable. And he was like, "They're going to strip me. Not only are they going to take my title, they're going to strip me on my number one contendership."
Exactly. And they said that the whole 30-day thing, and then Jim Ross threw it in Ventura's face. Well, he didn't defend it since November, so he shouldn't have it now. And I'm like, are you guys like really? Is this personal for you? Because they look like they were really into this.
No, I think they were just selling it. They were selling it really well.
Because then they were talking about how they were going to start a tournament. Look, WCW was good for two things: tournaments and stripping you of the belt. That I got to give it to them.
Yeah.
They were going to start a tournament to see who the new number one contender for the United States title would be, and then that if Rude could not defend it in January, the date they had set, that he would be stripped of the title. And that's when Ventura said there was politics, and then Ross said, well, he hadn't defended it since last month, so what does that say?
Well, it was just a heel defense. It was, Ventura's a heel, he's defending another heel. That's all it was. But it was well done. I like that whole promo thing that came out. That was really
it was really well done.
Yeah.
And Ventura was always good with selling Ravishing Rick Rude.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, since back in the day. Yeah.
So this match was actually pretty cool because Ross was talking about how these two fought in college, on the gridiron. I think it was the Orange Bowl. I think he said it was.
I don't remember. It was one of those.
It was one of the college bowls. and that how Oklahoma and Florida State had their rival. And if you notice, both guys were wearing their college colors because he had Steve Williams had the Oklahoma colors on his trunks, and Ron Simmons had the Florida State Seminole thing, and I think it said on the side Pride.
It said Pride, yeah.
So I thought that was pretty good. And they during the match, he's actually trying to get him to, they're doing the football drills and stuff.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it was all right. I would have much rather see the other match, but
exactly, you and me both.
Ross was really good friends with Dr. Death, so he was like really trying to put him over. You could tell in this match he was really putting over Dr. Death. I mean, two big guys.
Even later on in WCW, when it was getting really corny, and they had Oklahoma. They had, who did they have by his side? But Steve Williams, who came back. So, he was good trying to sell Steve Williams, who's a heel, by the way. That's weird that Ross is selling a heel. Yeah. But Ron Simmons did pretty good in the match. They tried selling the knee injury, which was okay. It was a 15-minute, 12-second match. Ron Simmons gets the win now this is where it didn't make any sense. It was a count out,
right?
Originally,
yeah.
And then because all of a sudden they change it to a disqualification.
I didn't understand that. Yeah, I was confused.
How do you do that? That makes no sense.
I think they screwed up. I think they botched it. Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be a disqualification, the original.
That's what it was.
Outcome, and then you did the count out.
Yeah. WCW, ladies and gentlemen, WCW.
Exactly. We're trying, people. We're trying. I just think that took away from the whole match. The way they screwed up, they botched the outcome. Yeah, it was. So anyway, Ron Simmons is still the heavyweight champion. Good for him. Because I loved when he won the title. And I just wish WWE would have done something, even though his career was kind of tapering when he got there. Not really, in my opinion, because he still had it. I just think they should have did something with him, considering he's a former world champion.
Yeah, I agree.
But they wouldn't acknowledge WCW champions.
They didn't even let him be Ron Simmons, but that's a whole other story for another video.
Exactly. That's and coming up in February, we I should say are going to do a Ron Simmons thing, so we can get into it then. Just as WCW run. I don't want to talk about the WWE just yet. In any event, the next match was a unified tag team champions, was the NWA and WCW tag titles. It was Shane Douglas and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Never understood them putting the two together, but they worked.
It worked, though. It worked, yeah. Good wrestlers.
Yes, both of them, yeah.
It's not Douglas's fault he got that bad gimmick and WWF.
Well, WWE, yeah. Not to mention the fact they also had him a year prior and did nothing with him. And this is also right around the time that after this run with Steamboat, he goes to ECW and he just bounces all around. They faced the challenges of Barry Windham and Flying Brian Pillman. Now, this match was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was 20 minutes, 2 seconds. It was actually the longest match on the card. And I was actually, when I was watching it, I'm like, is this match ever going to end?
No, it was a good match. I was laughing when Steamboat actually cheated and hit Windham with the chair. And then Wyndham's eyes just go like really, really super wide. And he's just like lying there like in shock.
And this is where you could tell that with Bill Watts taking away the padding, that they have that cork board stuff over the ice because they're talking about how a hockey team. And
it was so narrow too. Like it was from between the ring and I guess the gate. I guess whatever. Yeah, the barrier. It was very, very narrow.
It was, and that floor was kind of coming up really cheesy. And not to mention, at one point in the match where they are. You could see that there's a space where you could see the ice.
Yeah.
So
talk about amateur hour.
Exactly. Him taking away the padding and having that whole, if you go over the top rope, it's a disqualification. Those rules were really stupid. Mm-hmm. He's like, what? And I remember in an interview with him, he goes, well, I just set that up to where you'd have to do something shady where the referee doesn't see it so that you go over the top rope. Dude, just please. You did stupid stuff. Just own up to it. And if you're going to have the floor bare, don't put particle board on the floor. Yeah. That stuff is, you notice it was all over Pillman's back. It was all over Wyndham's back when they got slammed out there. It was just really cheesy. But the match itself was pretty good. The Douglas and Steamboat, they kept the tag titles. So it was pretty good. Again, those two kind of they offset each other. They made each other look good. Steamboat was helping an up and coming Douglas, which was good. So I did like this match. Now the next match was a tournament finals, King of Cable. What the hell is this?
I don't know.
That's like AEW right now with the TBS title, the TNT title. What are you guys going to be? What is this? Again, like I said, Starrcade, WCW was good for two things: always doing tournaments and stripping you of titles. And this is the only time they did this King of Cable nonsense. Now it was Sting versus Big Van Vader in the finals. Let me just real briefly recapture the tournament itself. In the opening round, it was Vader defeating Tony Atlas, Dustin Rhodes defeating the Barbarian, Rick Rude defeated Barry Windham, and Sting defeated Flying Brian, which I did remember seeing that match on a TBS Saturday night, and it was a really good match. Notice that all these guys are, with the exception of Rude, are involved in this tournament. So I got to wonder about their roster here right now.
Yeah.
So the semifinals, it was Vader defeating Dustin Rhodes, which like I said, they had their little feud going, and Sting defeating Ravishing Rick Rude, which led to the match that we had. And this wasn't a bad match. Sting really went toe to toe with Vader. There was a couple of botches during it that Sting and Vader almost got hurt, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like the opening match, which I didn't mention. There was supposed to be a Hurricanrana, and the guy landed on his head. So I didn't mention that screw up until now. I didn't really want to. But Sting and Vader always were good in the ring. They always brought the best out of each other. I think there was a lot of respect from the two men.
Yeah, they were good.
Of course, Harley Race gets involved as well.
You know, I understand this. Was it me or was Vader wearing a do-rag?
Yes. Yes, this is where he stopped wearing that ridiculous helmet.
Yeah.
And he come out with the do-rag.
I'm like, why was he wearing a do-rag? Maybe there's something to it that happened that I just don't remember, but
I know they wanted to get rid of that ridiculous helmet, which I never understood that. The little smoke coming out. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. The thing was corny. So this was a 16-minute, 50-second match. Sting actually gets the victory over Vader. So now for the second time tonight, Sting has wrestled. So has Vader, but Sting has won the King of Cable.
King of Cable. There's just too much stuff going on.
It is.
You have the Battlebowl, you have the King of Cable. Like,
they're known for this in the early Starrcades because there was one Starrcade eventually we'll get to that they had a kind of Olympic feel to it, the country tournaments. And then they also had one whole Starrcade was nothing but, I think, 6 guys or tag teams. All it was them wrestling each other in a round robin tournament. That's all it was. This was what Starrcade was known for back then until they kind of changed it later on. I mean, it was just some cheesy stuff. And like you said, there's too much going on here. Pick what you want to do, Battlebowl or King of Cable. Yeah. You can't do both. And not to mention your world championship match is not even close to the main event. Didn't make any sense. So now we go to Battlebowl 2, which is funny because here comes Sting and Vader right back out after a 17-minute fight to fight again. Sting didn't even bother with the makeup. He's just going out there.
Right back out. Let's go. Let's go.
So you had Van Hammer and Dan Spivey in there, Vader and Rhodes, Muta and Windham, Steve Williams and Sting in there. Van Hammer was the first one eliminated. He's gone. Then following him is Dan Spivey. Sting and Vader go out at the same time.
Yeah, they limited. Was that a botch or was that planned?
It could have gone either way. I think I want to say it was a botch, but I'm wondering if they wanted Sting in there near the finals.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, did they botch that? I don't know. I never looked into it, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
There's no telling.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Williams and Rhodes go out at the same time. So now you're down to Windham and Muta.
They were just trying to get this thing over with, dude.
I think so because it was only 14 minutes.
Yeah. Like,
and if you notice, they were trying to keep the camera off the crowd because they were starting to
right.
They were starting to leave.
Yeah.
So Great Muta wins this. So he gets his Battlebowl ring that he probably won't receive for another year.
Right, if at all.
Now, later on, I don't think they did this here, but the Battlebowl ring winner would receive a title shot that they never got. So Great Muta technically is deserved a title shot, but I don't think they did that here. I think he was just doing a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, it was probably just, they didn't mention it. I don't remember them mentioning it. So
no, it was later on, I think, when Page won it, that they said he would receive a title shot, which he never did. So Great Muta wins the Battlebowl, and then when they're playing his music, that's when the crowd is like, all right, cool, later. It's like cockroaches leaving when the light goes on. Yeah. We're out of here.
No, and that was when that's when I said, all right, thank God this is over with.
I actually held on to hear the recap for Ventura and Ross, and that's when the emptiness of the seats were behind them. And I'm like, damn, you guys seriously need to get off the air right now. Now, if you notice, during the last 4 matches, Capetta would say that on the time limit, it's TV time remaining. I'm like, bro, you're on pay-per-view, not TV. Because every other match prior to that was a 1-hour time limit, but this is TV time remaining.
Well, so what? Maybe TV had a time limit, and they're referring to whatever the TV time limit is what they're using now.
I was like, I don't know. It didn't make
that's probably what they meant. That makes sense.
Yeah, at least it wasn't 10-minute time limits with the TV, like the TV title.
TV title, yeah, exactly.
That's like ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what they meant then. Maybe what they meant was the TV title time limit. Where you're going to be using a TV title time limit. I don't know.
There's no telling. Man.
Anyway, this is kind of a stinker.
Unfortunately.
It's a shame because they still had, they had some talent. You had Vader, you had Sting.
But the fact that some of these guys are wrestling 2-3 times,
it was stupid.
It took away from it.
Took away.
You had a whole locker room back there, and I couldn't recognize half of the guys. But just I don't know. Maybe we should have did the first Starrcade instead. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there'll be more to come.
Yes, they will, because the next one we're going to do after this is going to be Starrcade 1997. The famous Hogan Sting build-up.
Yeah, another
that Bret Hart shows up. Yeah. It was a little. I'll say it's better than this.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
It is interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
It's NWO. It's Bret Hart. It's Sting after 15 months.
It's Sting.
It's the match that everybody wanted to see, and then the next night they go, "What the hell did you just do?"
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? So yeah, it's 97 will be the next one after this.
All right. So you guys make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.